Port Adelaide. And on the other side, Sydney are looking pretty good today.
As the umpire's just about set to get play underway. Sydney kicking to the left of screen, if watching on, is the northwestern end here at Drummoyne. And Griffin will take on Naismith in the ruck. Griffin flew early, didn't get an effective tap down. Here's a chance for Heaney. What about his ability to find space where there wasn't much at all? Played it off to Jack. Hanbury had a fit of the fumbles, got it backwards to Parker. Naismith now chain of handballs ends with Smith, who goes on his non-preferred right boot and overcooks it into the arms of Ibbotson. He takes the relieving mark for Fremantle. Good to see him back. He's lacked continuity in his footy. He's got those suspect shoulders. He had his shoulder injury again last year, which curtailed 2014, or the lion's share of it, as Fremantle builds. Walters in the Pavlich direction, and he shows a strong set of hands up against Rampy.
Wet weather's here, Tristan. It is starting to spit a little bit. So the contest is going to be even tighter.
It's blowing quite forcefully. Fremantle want to hit the scoreboard rather quickly as Pavlich drives it long over the head of Clark. Reading it best, Hanbury, who marked and got play moving from the last line. And Johnson takes a fairly solid mark. He turns and drives it long inside 50. And no mark taken. A lot of players diving in on the football. And the umpire calling play on as rain descends, and the crowd looks for cover. There's not much here on the other side. In fact, it's absolutely pelting down. In the twinkle of an eye, as Sydney has it at centre half forward. Here's Rowan, lays it back to Kennedy. One-on-one, Pike in good position. Ball floats, it drifts with the breeze, and Smith was happy to see that one just drift across the goal line for or behind. And a minor score.
It is coming in sideways here, people, if you're listening.
It's set itself in well and truly. Kennedy no mark. He goes backwards by hand. Here's Smith off to Jake Lloyd, who floats one in the Goods direction. The 237s collide. And Goods and also Michael Johnson punch clear out for a throw-in. Now we need to try and lift the table that we have here so as not to have an electrical surge. And we've done that for the moment and done that reasonably well, although we'll seek some assistance. Brogues, you try and fix the mess in front of us. I'll get on with calling the game, and it's coming in at a rapid rate. It is absolutely pelting down. Thank you, Mark Evans, who's lent a helping hand as well. Greatly appreciated as Sydney has it centre half forward still. Rampy a chance to collect, does so on this near side centre wing position, then unloads a long bomb towards goal. Misses to the left-hand side, through for a minor score. And Brogues, job well done by you. If we're not electrocuted, we'll be lucky, as it came through with real force. And we welcome you back.
I'm back, people.
As Mundy goes long outside of defensive 50 from the kick-out. And bit of a stalemate ensues. It's scooped out the back to Lewis Jetta, who sneaks one the way of Rampy, who fends off a tackle. And the umpire calls play on. Richards just sizes up the situation. His kick not great, missed Reece Shaw. Ball out of play, out of side wing.
Real trying conditions here. I think this will suit Fremantle a little bit more. They might be able to get themselves back into the contest and start evening up some contested possession. It's a real scrappy affair at the moment.
As Naismith just watched it down. Kennedy roved it well, fed it backwards, and the scrapping kick around the corner hit the chest of Rowan between wing and right half forward for Sydney. They still lead by 13 points. Visit alburywodonga.com scoreboard. He kicks long, Dockers with numbers. Ibbotson going back, didn't take the mark. Parker front and square, broke one tackle, couldn't evade the second. That should be holding the ball and is. And Fremantle a chance to release that pressure valve once again, Brogues.
Yeah, look, they've come out, the intent is there, that's a good thing. But with the conditions the way it is, it's going to be hard to see them, get their game going in these conditions. But it has to start defensively, and they've done that.
Here is Sheridan, who runs into trouble, although he was lucky to be clipped tie, so has a chance just to slow things down again. And this time he kicks into Franklin. Franklin applies the pressure. Sheridan rushes the behind. So the margin 15 points, 5-10-40. Fremantle 3-7-25. This third term for Arnold, Thomas and Becker, personal injury lawyers. We don't settle for less. As Subin plays on. Drives it long down the line. Fife uncontested. He expected contact. He still flew and took a nice mark. Casually kicks short. That one-step kick can be hazardous. Ibbotson good enough to mop up. Johnson one way, then another. Saw Pike, thought he'd get around him. Played it off to Ibbotson, who went sideways. And it slips through the fingers of Duffy.
Interesting kick by Fife to bring it back in the corridor with these conditions. Should have been long down the line, get it out of their back 50.
So the ball will be thrown in right half forward for Sydney, 55 metres from home. As neither ruckman got an effective tap. Towers out the back. I like the look of him today. Ends with Laidler, who goes around the corner. Silvani did well.
Great mark by Silvani. He's been good today. Been very good.
We'll have a look at his full circle financial group stats. He's had 7, most importantly. He's kept Buddy Franklin quiet. But he's kicked just the 1 goal this afternoon. As Subin has it, right half back, broadcast side of the ground. Kicks to a host of dockers. Grundy was held though. And the umpires rightly spotted the free kick, broadcast wing position. And Grundy will play on. Kick long inside 50. Pike's got 5 players to beat. Unsurprisingly, they win out momentarily, although Subin couldn't control it. The slippery, wet football. Blakely looks up ahead. Did well in the end, did young Connor Blakely. Found Zach Clark at right half back again, but Fremantle really struggling to get past their half forward line. Pavlich that time used his body well. Took a Hendy Bay beachfront Holiday Park mark of the day contender. Now pumps it long inside 50. Main waited for someone else to fly. Rampy made it his own. And Sydney once again repelled. This time Richards, the hurried clearing kick to open spaces. As Sheridan leads Hanbury to the footy. And in the end, a good result for the Swans.
It's a better build-up by Fremantle, though. Look for your gun players, your big tall forwards to give a contest long down the line. And Pavlich did that, took a mark. It's a terrific play.
16-point lead to Sydney, 5-11-41. Fremantle 3-7-25. That was Dean Brogan providing the expert comments for tatsbet.com. It's your home of AFL betting. Tristan Fernando, my name. I hope you're enjoying this one, either on the AFL app or via the Sydney Swans website. As that one slips through the fingers of Johnson for Fremantle, out for a throw-in at right half forward for Sydney.
Just Kennedy up to 5 disposals already. He absolutely thrives in these conditions. He's such a good player. Won that last clearance for Sydney.
As the ball's tossed in, a shallow throw-in, probably affected by that stiff breeze. As the umpire just sizes up the situation and decides to come in and throw it up. 8 minutes, third quarter. Uphill battle if you're a Fremantle supporter. It's going to be scrappy from here on in. Very hard to gain real clean possession. As the Dockers flood their back 50. A few loose players being Johnson and Mundy. Mundy really just sitting off Dean Towers, who's on the paint of 50. If the ball's thrown in, quick hurried kick came from Bird, who kicks to a pack. Roved off hands by Tanner Smith, ends with Sutcliffe. And looks ahead, kicks to open space. It was an iffy option because Jeddah put on the afterburners, won it back for Sydney. Went inboard with the handball. Look out Laidler, good tackle by Main. It's been a real highlight of his game today. The pressure is applied, but Sydney really good enough to work the chain of handballs backwards to Grundy, who kicks down the line to Heaney. He contests well against Silvani. Just about wins it back once again. Parker, we know he's a tough nut. Scooped it towards Towers. Now Bird, floating ball to a one-on-one inside 50. Rowan did well. So too Sutcliffe to get a fist in there somehow. And the big pack forms as Good tries to burrow his way through. Nothing doing, said the umpire. So Sutcliffe went round the corner. Grubbing ball towards Griffin, who tried to improvise, but Sydney with a bit of time and space. Parker to Bird. Parker says, go for home, Craig Bird. He does, and he kicks the goal.
Terrific
Desperate
goal.
lunge from Sutcliffe, not good enough, but it was just good team play by Sydney, and they extend this lead. They move to 6-11-47. Fremantle 3-7-25 as we tick up to 10 minutes third quarter for Arnold, Thomas and Becker, personal injury lawyers.
Yeah, it's been Fremantle are really struggling to get out of their back 50. Sydney are putting immense pressure on their backs, kicking the ball out, and it's been the story of the day down this end of the ground. Teams just cannot get it out of their back 50, and Sydney are just pouncing on it at the moment.
So the margin now out to 22 points. Fremantle with some thinking to do, Dean Brogan. How can they work their way back, or do they just simply not have the personnel out there today to mount a meaningful comeback?
Yeah, look, they're trying some things. They're putting some numbers behind the ball to try and stop Sydney's onslaught, but it doesn't seem to be helping at the moment. It's got to start around the footy as Sydney going once again from the centre bounce.
Offhand, Kennedy looked menacing. Moved onto his left side, floats one to the hot spot. Blakely did well, just tried to palm it to the advantage of a few teammates in that part of the ground. In the end, the 50-50 ball being a stoppage is not a bad result. As Sheridan picks himself up.
Clearances are 7-0 this quarter. That's how they get back into the game. They win a clearance.
Which is staggering, as Sutcliffe showed some pretty decent soccer skills in the end. Bird at his head
that's
over.
Dangerous. That could be reportable.
It was dangerous indeed.
Who was that? Walters.
Michael Walters, the umpire, just giving him a stern talking to. And it looks like he's been reported as well, Dean Brogan. He's speaking to both players.
Yeah, you've got to protect the player over the footy, and Bird had his head over and Walters came in a bit reckless and got him high. I don't think there was anything in it. I think the right decision was a free kick.
Nothing too malicious. Nevertheless, we've seen in recent seasons those heavily scrutinised as Bird kicking his second goal in the space of 2 minutes. He starts at left and stays there and through for another behind. So errant kicking for Sydney. In fact, both sides. Sydney 6-12 now, 48. Fremantle 3-7-25 as we tick up to 12 minutes. Third term for Arnold, Thomas and Becker. Johnson kicks to himself and drives it long outside defensive 50. And the whistle on play. Free kick going the way of the Dockers for holding.
This next kick's important. This is where Fremantle have been breaking down this quarter. Getting it out of their back line. Long down the line is what they need.
Zach Clark pumps it in that direction. Although Sydney had more numbers, Pavlich was the meat in the sandwich. Robinson lost his footing, was wrapped up by a couple Dockers, and the umpire quickly on the scene. At outer side wing position, and he'll throw it up. With the message of the day being the AFL says no to homophobia as part of this NAB Challenge Pride match, a great initiative between the NAB and the AFL. Sutcliffe now, defensive 50 for Fremantle. Good left foot ball towards Clark. Couldn't take the mark as Lloyd came in for Sydney. And the umpires picked out a free kick. It's going the way of Sydney. An advantage paid as Mitchell moves the ball inside 50. Good spill to Sitter. Good evasive skills. He drives it long to the hot spot. No one at home. And Johnson takes the easiest of defensive marks.
Yeah, Sydney, Fremantle playing that loose man in Johnson behind the ball. It's actually hurting them around the stoppages. That's why Sydney have got dominant. Johnson's man's up at the stoppage getting some footage. So it's a bit of cat and mouse with that position, but Swans ahead on the scoreboard.
And on the stat sheet, in an important department, full circle financial stat sheet, 10-3 the inside 50s this quarter. And really those inside 50 entries haven't been anything meaningful for Fremantle. As Heaney roves off hands, left foot ball slightly overhit, out of bounds on the full.
Fremantle need to do something about their clearances. They have not won a clearance this quarter. A lot of that's because Johnson's let his man Heaney up at the stoppage, who won that last clearance.
There'll be barking instructions below us, the Fremantle bench, as this kick again sails out of bounds on the full.
Hannaberry Falcon.
He did. Silvani putting his hand up to prevent it moving into his bench. It ricocheted into the mush of Hannaberry as Goods was held off it, I thought. Umpire said it was all legal. Walters took the defensive mark, and again a sloppy kick. Kick to no one. Lloyd watched it trickle over the boundary line. It'll be tossed back in, and Sydney will apply that bit more pressure. Right half forward in front of a good contingent of fans on that outer side. The rain looks to have subsided momentarily.
See Mundy back playing that loose man now with Johnson off the ground.
Clark did well through traffic. His look-away handball missed his intended target in Lockie Weller, who's come on for his first run, the Fremantle substitute. Subs for Sydney, Nankervis and Xavier Richards, as Laidler kicks out to the path of Kennedy. Wasn't precise. Blakely was clean by hand backwards to that loose player in Mundy. Now he's got a chance to set Sutcliffe off into space. He gathers on the bounce. He was upended after he got rid of it. Ted Richards, good spoil away from Pavlich. Good work by Crozier. Ducked his head, just barged his way through. Umpire called play on. Ball locked in right half forward at the moment for Fremantle. As Duffy had it, was stripped of it. Good tackle, Laidler. Another Greyhound Racing Victoria chase of the day contender there. And wins back possession of the ball for Sydney at left half back.
Fremantle really struggling to put anything inside forward. All their numbers are up in the defensive line, so when they break, they've got really nothing to kick to.
As Smith transfers play to the outer side. Mitchell accepts, then kicks well, finds Heaney outer side of the centre square. Looks ahead, tries to just thread it the way of Goods. Punched away from him, but the Swans with numbers at ground level. Cunningham did well to Bird. He's caught in two minds, retreats to Mitchell, look out. Evaded that would-be tackler. Rampy now has it and wants to bring it out this broadcast side. Does so well. Didn't hit Lloyd, but he had plenty of time to gather. And retreats by hand to Ted Richards, who just pulls the trigger, kicks long to an open forward line. Heaney was pushed out of it. Umpire said he played for it a tad. Bird attacked it strongly. Was dispossessed. Towers with clean hands. Out the back to Cunningham, who stands, delivers, misses to the near side.
We said at half-time, Fremantle need to get more of the footy. Fremantle 33 possessions to Sydney 62. Almost doubled the possession rate. And we've only been going 16 minutes.
At that minute mark, it's Sydney 6:13:49, leading Fremantle 3:7:25. And we'll get the around the ground scores in a moment. Collingwood taking on Carlton today at Bendigo. As Fremantle drives it long outside defensive 50. Heaney, good quick hands to Parker, who goes for home from 52, if you don't mind, Luke Parker. And that's a 9-pointer for Sydney.
Terrific hands by Heaney, wasn't it?
Just assessed the situation, knew he had a teammate running by. Brilliant stuff by the youngster. And Sydney extends that lead even further. A game-high 33 points there. One super goal, 6:13:58. Leading Fremantle 3:7:25. Now challenge footy. Just another way NAB's doing more to fortify Australia. As we look at the scores, Collingwood at the moment leading Carlton. One super goal, 6:4:49. Carlton, one super goal, 7:3:54. Closing in on half-time at Queen Elizabeth Oval in Bendigo.
As we talk about clearances, and I've been harping on it, 11 to Sydney, 1 to Fremantle, and another clearance led to a goal then. Totally dominating Sydney.
Rare clearance for the Dockers. A scrubby clearance from the boot of Neil. The ball leads the Razor head of Jeddah, then lost his footing. Jeddah did well to keep his. In dispute, Brandon Jack head over it, just barged his way through. And the umpire's going to ping him. They're red hot on it, holding the ball. And just going back to Brandon Jack, just the one disposal. Didn't think we'd call his name all that often today. So Fremantle, a moment of relief as they drive it long inside 50. Off hands, Hanbury at the back. Had it, then fumbled. Parker was there, did well, gathered cleanly to Kennedy. And now they retreat to their defensive goal square where Ted Richards sees Heaney. And a long way from his half forward line, I should say. Takes the mark, although his handball not great. Rampy had to work, then came through solidly. Blakely applied the pressure for Fremantle. They win it back. Griffin was flat-footed. Now a chance from Mundy. 55 from home. He sits it up. He want to fly. Main's a chance. So too Aptness. Came in from the side. Crozier roved. His snap was smothered. And Sydney will have a chance to clear. Richards did the disciplined thing, bent down, picked it up. And they're just working so very well together at the moment, Brogues.
Yeah, we look at, just looking through Fremantle stats, Stephen Hill hasn't touched it this quarter. I'm not quite sure. There might be an issue with him. Ballantyne, no touches. Fife, only 2 touches this quarter. So all their gun players just cannot get involved at all. And it's really hurting them.
Well, that's extraordinary about Ballantyne. 2 disposals on the afternoon. Unbelievable. As Griffin had the twinkle toes, the big man. Turned onto his left boot, kicked inside 50. Once again, though, no one at home. Hanbury couldn't take the mark, but off hands, Shaw exchanges with Rampy. He drives it long outside defensive 50. Silvani read it well, took the chest mark.
He's probably been their best player, I would have thought. Silvani's been really solid back there.
And right up in terms of prominent contributors for Fremantle, goes short to Fife. attacking side of this broadcast wing. Will go short. And a casual attempt to mark there by Neil. It slips through his fingers. Rampy, look out. Good tackle there by Blakely. Affected the kick. And Tanner Smith to mop up for Fremantle. Has time and space. Goods tries to corral. Lays the handball to Johnson. He kicks down the line. Pike with the 1 mitt. Just about took a ripper mark. Neil, though, showed good evasive skills and agility. Just spun it round the corner with a wobbly ball. Blakely was tough. And he'll be happy with that result. Ball out of play to be tossed back in. Just forward to centre for Fremantle. And they trail. They've got some thinking to do. 3-7-25. Sydney, 1 super goal. 6-13-58. As the ball's tossed back in. Clean bowls all comers. Hill's handball was slick. Sutcliffe good enough to gather. Now Johnson lowered his eyes, but it wasn't a good option. He only found Josh Kennedy. He looks back. He's got Goods one-on-one. A chance, the superstar. Well done, Tanner Smith. Goods forced to punch from front position. Ball out of play. Will be thrown in deep inside the Swans attacking zone, right forward pocket, as we tick up towards 21 minutes on the clock in this Arnold Thomas and Becker Personal Injury Lawyers 3rd term. And we don't settle for less, say Arnold Thomas and Becker. As Naismith did well to improvise, got boot to ball. Mundy, no mark because it didn't travel the required distance. His spearing ball was good, hit Silvani. And he looks to kick laterally, does so across the face of his defensive goals, finds Johnson. His kick not great. It bisected 2 of his teammates, so Blakely gathered and kicked down the line. Clark with the outstretched arms, good spoil by Richards. It was Ted Richards, good contest all round. Ball out of play to be tossed back in.
They just haven't been able to get anything from their centre half back through possession-wise through the corridor, have they? They haven't been able to hit anyone at centre half forward today. It's really let them down. The disposal hasn't been great at all for him now.
And you look at kicking efficiency, they're up near 61%, but that's probably due to the short kicking in their back line, really. Just maintaining possession on occasion before Sydney really applying the pressure. Cheddar squeezes one out the back. Wobbly one from Ted Richards. And it slips through the fingers of Johnson as well. Perhaps would have sailed out of bounds on the full. Nevertheless, it will be tossed back in. 60 around from Sydney's goal at right half forward. 58 plays 25, closing in on 3/4 time. And we're here all thanks to McDonald's new and permanent Southwest BLT Chicken Burger. That's raised the bar in flavour. We thank them for their continued support. As Neil wins himself a free kick. We've got his full circle financial stats in a moment. Up to 22, so he can hold his head high. Sydney just irrepressible when it comes to applying this pressure. And they'll be very happy with what unfolded in that 3rd term. Commanding lead for the Swans at 3/4 time. They're 1 super goal, 6-13-58. Fremantle stranded on 3-7-25. They didn't score in that quarter, the Dockers. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back at the thoughts of Dean Brogan. Can Fremantle somehow mount a comeback? It certainly looks unlikely. This is week 3, the 2015 NAB Challenge. It's just another way NAB is doing more to fortify Australia.